Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within.
Welcome to the Blood Wolf Reading Hour, and I'm your host, Mr. Moonlight, and we've got our special guest with us here again today for our final live stream for finishing up her book, at least. This is Robyn Maria. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So this is going to be different than the rest of our live streams that we've done so far, because this one we're going to be just wrapping up the last 3 chapters all in one go.
Mhm.
uh, just due to some varying time constraints that we're working with. So, you got your book? Right and ready. Okay. We'll just we'll dive right in. Kind of fun to catch up with you later. Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All righty. Chapter 7. Sometimes all a kid needs is one moment, one memory, to remind them they are more than what happened to them. Giving back through purpose. For most of my life, I was so wrapped up in surviving the storm that I couldn't even see the sky above me. It's hard to see the purpose when you're stuck in the minutiae of pain. Hard to dream when you're just trying to make it through the day. Hard to lift your head when life has constantly told you to keep it down. Somewhere along the way, through healing, reflection, and this journey of telling my story, I realized something. I just didn't want to survive. I wanted to give others a reason to survive, push forward, dream, and do. Not just through words, through experience. As I mentioned before, growing up, we lived in campgrounds. Let me tell you, when you're forced to camp because you don't have a home, it's not a vacation. It's not fun. It's cold, exhausting, and humbling. Hauling water, sleeping in tents, bathing from a bucket. Being outside wasn't freeing. It was a constant reminder that we didn't belong anywhere. So, when I was at foster care and told I'd be going on a 4-day rafting and camping trip down the Green River, I didn't jump for joy. I wasn't interested in reliving the hardship of outdoor life, but I didn't get a choice. My foster family needed a break, so I went. What I didn't know then was that this trip would become one of the most unexpected, beautiful turning points of my life. Healing. As we floated down the Green River, we stopped to explore an old, broken down cabin. Rusted cans, weathered silverware, scraps of a life long forgotten littered the ground. Our guide pointed to it and said, "This was one of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance's kids' hideouts." I froze. Suddenly, I was transported to my grandfather's lap. The man who loved me so deeply, who held me as a child and told me I was beautiful and worthy, and his. He used to tell me stories of outlaws hiding in his family's barn in South Jordan when he was a boy. He'd speak of Sundance like he was part of the family lore. In that moment, on that riverbank, it all connected. The stories, the place, my past, my legacy. It was the first time I ever felt that I belonged to something bigger, that I came from something meaningful, that my life could hold more than pain. That trip, which I thought would just be a blur of resentment, became sacred because I didn't just see a river. I saw history. I saw healing. I saw me for the first time outside of trauma. I just want to pause for a minute here. Um, how old were you when this trip happened?
16.
You're 16.
Oh, I think yeah, 16.
Okay,
Mhm.
so this is kind of your book so far has been kind of like a progression of your life
Mhm.
upwards, up through meeting your husband and
Mhm.
a little bit there, and this kind of dips back, um,
Mhm.
retelling this. Um, I like one of the things that first come to mind is it's almost like because the way that your book starts, it's starts in the forest
Mhm.
where you tell your story and coming out of the forest and that just being your entire life because that's just how it was. And there's something poetic here about when you're talking about, you know, and you said this was 16. Um, it's interesting because it's like a revisiting back to that same point and connecting to something much larger. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, there are key moments in my life, pivotal moments that have happened, where um, something bigger than myself, I call it like my higher self, kind of pushes my human out of the way because it's a moment in time that's going to matter for the future. And this was one of those moments for me. I didn't know it at the time. In fact, I didn't even know that this was a pivotal moment until last year.
Wow.
And so um, it came and what the moment that this is talking about, where we're going down the river, is the reason why I agreed to write this book in the first place.
Hmm.
It's not the book is not something that I ever wanted to do. It wasn't about putting my dirty laundry out for everyone to see, but I've always had a space in me that knew that I experienced these things for purpose. I just didn't know the purpose. And then it just came to me last year of what that was. And that's essentially what this is about. And so this chapter tells about the river rafting camping trip that I went on and how I didn't want to do it. And the reason I didn't want to do it was because of my history with camping and how this trip essentially shifted that, but also shifted it for a bigger purpose.
Okay. And just I guess you kind of just said a little bit what I was wondering about was because you talked about this happening when you were 16, when you had this experience, but I guess the question I was getting into by asking you to share a little bit was at what point I'm like the realization occurred because I mean this happened quite a while ago, but it's interesting because you're saying just last year that the
Mhm.
realization clicked after all this time. It's like that was a that was a point you look back on now being like, whoa, that was a massive turning point, and I didn't even understand that for years later. Hmm.
And I think that happens a lot with my experience in life is that um, it, in the moment, we don't always understand. I haven't always understood in the moment. And sometimes I'll understand a few days later, a week later, a month later, a couple of years later. Well, this is essentially not quite 40 years later, almost 40 years later, where I was like, oh, now I understand.
Hmm.
So, you don't know what you're experiencing and how it's going to play out in your future. And and this is a prime example of that.
Wow. I love that. It's the whole I don't know, it's just like I don't know, I guess from perspective, life goes by in kind of a blink of an eye. It really does, from a larger perspective. And
Hmm.
it's really difficult to grasp. It's like, wow, the mind finally caught up to this. It's like the neurons finally connected. Um,
Well, and I think that there are many experiences I've had between this story that we're going through right now on this trip and what came about for me last year. And it's almost like walking along a trail and picking up the breadcrumbs. And you don't necessarily know what you're picking it up until you put it all together and it forms a loaf of bread. And
Yeah.
so it's just a little bit about like picking up all the pieces along the way.
Okay. Yeah, and that's so true. I was double checking because it's interesting, and after this, we'll move forward reading. But there's um, there's an idea that floats around about purpose, and I feel like people get so hung up on purpose and trying to figure out what their purpose is. And there was an experience I had visiting with my own spirit guides um, in a meditative experience. And one of the comments that one of my guides said, is he said, some people go through their whole life wondering what their purpose is, only to find out at the end that they lived it without even knowing
Yeah.
it. um,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess that's just one of those things about life, isn't it?
Yeah. And to that, I feel like I have lived my purpose. That everything we've read up into this point in the book and life continuing on much further than this book covers has been a part of my purpose because every one of these experiences has led into what my purpose is. Mhm.
That's so powerful. So thank you for like bringing that in the into the sphere because I didn't realize that that was when that clicked for you. So that's really cool. So we're literally um, going through this book, and the inspiration came from just a year ago to like, okay, this is a catalyst point, and it's all this stuff finally kind of coming together. That's real. That I can only imagine how exciting that was for you that moment that clicked.
Yes, exciting was one of the emotions. Terror was another.
I
Because
yeah.
it's one of those things where you go, okay, if I do this, because I've never done anything a day in my life that I haven't been all in or all out. And so if I do this, I'm all in. And I've got to make sure that I'm all in. And, there's sometimes overthinking and self-talk and different things that can go along with that. But at the end of the day, if it's my purpose, which I truly believe it is, then I'm all in. So let's go. And so there was a lot of a bit of a roller coaster of emotions to get me to the point where I was like, okay, I can do this.
I can imagine. Okay, so we'll continue on here.
Hmm.
Next section, charity and giving. That moment has stayed with me ever since, and as I look back, was the first seed that was subconsciously planted around the creation of my charity. Yep, a charity. When it came time to create a charity, I knew exactly what it needed to be. A space where foster children could step out of their reality and into something greater, even if only for a moment. I know what it's like to feel trapped, to feel like no one wants you, to feel like life will never get better. I also know what one moment of clarity can do, one memory, one experience that shows you there's more to life than your pain. That's what I want this charity to give. Rafting trips, campfires, adventures, skate parks, sleepovers, safe spaces, freedom, even if just for a week. If I can help just one child look at their life and say, maybe I'm more than what happened to me, then every second, every dollar, every effort will have been worth it. Impacting lives with gratitude. When I first started sharing this book with people I trust, the feedback floored me. This isn't just a powerful story, they said. This could change the world. Not because my life was more dramatic than someone else's, but because people could see themselves in it. They could see that no matter how hard life gets, you can still choose abundance. You can still choose love. You can still choose to shift the narrative. Even if you can't see the forest and the trees, this book might help someone finally look up. If that happens for even one person, then it's all worth it. I don't live from lack. I live from overflow. Everything isn't easy, but gratitude changed everything. People always ask, is your cup half empty or half full? I say, my cup is overflowing. Why? Because every single day I wake up, I could list 100 reasons to be thankful. When I stay in that place of wonder, of presence, of deep appreciation, life flows. Gratitude is the key to abundance. It's the soil that generosity grows from. It's what fuels this mission to serve others. It is the source of creation. I love that. Worded so well. And it's just as I was reading this last bit and what you're creating here, just from experiencing being with you in different environments and things this is so you. It's like it's not just words on a paper. Like this is your heart and soul, and I can feel it because I know
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, it's exactly who I choose to be.
Be interesting. I don't know if I've asked you this before. Before we jump into the reflection exercise for a minute, I don't know if you've told me or if I've asked about what the title of your charity is because I'd like to look that up. I feel
It's
like you might
unboxed.
have at one point.
It's Unboxed Hearts, and
Okay.
it's not. I have a website. I am accepting people's information, but I haven't gotten full approval yet. And so until I get my full approval, I'm not in a space where I can take donations or anything or plan things, but it's in the process. All the applications and everything are in. I have my board already. I have everything in place. I'm just waiting
Hmm.
for that approval moment.
Wow. It's like waiting for Christmas.
Yeah, it is. And it's been a long process and a lot of waiting, but at the end of the day, there is it's going to be very exciting. And so I am taking applications online right now of anybody that wants to participate in the charity when I can take donations or wants to be a part of any of the trips or activities that we do. I'm taking applications online for that. And so when I get my approval, I'll be contacting people that leave their information there.
That's so cool. When we finish our live stream, you'll have to send me some of that.
Mhm. And at
Okay.
the back of the book, there's more information about that. So
Exciting. Um, I'll go ahead and get this first activity pulled up.
okay.
Let's see. That showing up well on your side?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is gonna yeah, we're gonna be going through three of these chapters. We got this. Okay. Reflection exercise. Step into purpose. Take a breath. Be still for a moment. Now ask yourself, what cause or group of people tugs at your heart when no one's watching? What would it look like to give them just one moment of hope, healing, or joy? And what's one small step you could take today to begin? And our last one is what fills your heart with gratitude? I like this. It's like, um, I think when people reflect on questions like these, I feel like sometimes people are surprised what their what causes or organizations or groups of people kind of tug at their heartstrings. Because I think a lot of people they keep that a little bit closer to themselves, just social stuff. But that's just what comes to mind. Is I feel like sometimes that people are a little surprised about where they get drawn towards. So this is I feel like this would be powerful for people to allow themselves to just see what surfaces when they do this.
Yeah,
there's a
it's
lot
one
out
that,
there.
go ahead.
I just said there's a lot out there.
There is, but there's more than what's out there because we can create anything we want.
Right. Just like what you're doing. It's like they could either
Hmm.
connect to something or they could connect to something and say, I'm going to build this like what you're doing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Don't overthink it. Don't try to make it perfect. Just listen and start small. And remember, you are more powerful than your pain. I love this. It's like we're getting to this parts in your book, and it's like this feels like the cherry on top, and like there's two more chapters. It's like there's more frosting and there's more, it's like there's more dessert.
Hmm.
Okay, so we'll jump into our next one. This thing has a limit of 40 minutes, so we'll see how far we get. We'll pause when we need to. I'll probably pause at the 5 minute mark. Um, I'll get the next one going. We'll have to jump streams. This is gonna be, this is new. This is fun. Okay. Okie doke. Chapter 8. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. And in that experience, I get to choose moment by moment who I become. Moment by moment. Conscious creation isn't some far off mystical concept reserved for gurus, influencers, or people with perfect morning routines. It's not a vision board you hang on your wall and forget about. It's not a carefully curated 5 year plan that goes exactly as expected. It's far more real and far rawer than that. For me, conscious creation is about how I move through life moment by moment. It's how I respond when the old patterns creep in. It's how I choose to look at my circumstances not as punishment, but as invitations to grow, stretch, and become. It's a practice. It's a practice. It's a posture. A decision I return to again and again, 100 times a day. I don't always get it right, so it doesn't always seem to be working. Sometimes I react. Sometimes I fall into fear, frustration, or judgment. The difference now is that I don't stay there. I don't let those moments define me. Instead, I ask, what am I learning here? What am I creating with this energy, this reaction, this belief? Conscious creation. I decide again to come back to alignment and take responsibility without blame, to lead myself without shame. Conscious creation isn't about being graceful all the time. It's about being awake. It's about choosing intentionally, unapologetically, and courageously who I want to be next. This is where I lean in on the concept of accountability without judgment. It's tapping into my daily practice that starts with a single powerful question. What role did I play in creating this moment? Not in a way that heaps shame or blame, but in a way that brings clarity, ownership, freedom. I call it accountability without emotion. It's not about fault or failure. It's about taking an honest inventory of what's mine, not what's theirs. If something feels off, if I'm out of alignment or if I'm clashing with someone, like my husband, I pause and ask, how did I create this? What am I learning here? Is this working for me? If it's not working, I shift. Sometimes that shift is internal. It is a breath, a reframing, a choice to soften instead of resist. Other times, it means having a hard conversation or setting a boundary I should have drawn long ago. The point is, I don't wait for someone else to change so I can feel better. I take the lead in my own experience. The moment I realize I have the power to shift the energy, I'm no longer a victim of it. I'm the creator of what comes next. Even what doesn't seem to be working is working in its way. All is always working for my higher good when I learn from the moment. I'm going to take a second here. That's a lot to digest.
It's
That's
hard.
that's
It's hard for some people to realize that most of what's happening in our lives is by our own creation. And um, and if it isn't something I'm creating, is it something I'm allowing? And for me, that's power. Because when I realize that I'm creating something or I'm allowing something, um, then I have the option to shift it. If somebody is doing something to me, that takes the control away from me.
yeah.
Mm.
Because then it's like now I can just wait for them to change
Mhm. Yeah.
and have a reason to stay where I'm at. But
Mhm.
and I know that it's there's a saying that comes to mind. I don't know if I remember I heard this anywhere, but someone said life isn't fair, and I said, well, and their response is, well, life isn't fair to everyone, which makes life pretty fair. Um, and the meaning of all that is essentially everybody has a story, everybody has a moment, and that's one of the ways that we connect to other people. That's something I realized when I was writing my books is when I was fine-tuning my second book. Part of the introduction was that that's the part um, where I learned compassion for others is when I reflected. I have a story and they have a story, and I get to speak up for myself. But life's everybody, and that's one of the things that brings us together. I think as communities, as people, as humanity, is like we're all in the same boat, and we get to decide how long we're going to ride certain rapids.
Mhm.
It's like something hits pretty hard, and at some point in my experience, I can be like, you know what, I can get out of this boat. Um, I can sail another road. Like I've had enough of that river. Let's hop into something else. So, but it can be really tough, for sure, because it's like um, mindset is absolutely everything.
Mhm.
And just like you mentioned here, it's moment to moment.
Mhm.
Whew.
I've heard many people say day to day, I take it day by day. I say, "Well, sometimes I take it moment by moment. Sometimes it's about just this moment and now this moment and then this moment, because sometimes that's what I can give. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's day by day.
yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about finding a community to connect with is, I don't know, it's easy to, I would say, giving yourself grace and being surrounded by people that, they hold your feet to the fire for the accountability, but, they're there to have ask the same questions you put here is, well, what are you learning?
Hmm.
What's there something you can do about this? Like, and in my line of work, I work with this a lot, and they say, and I ask the questions like, well, what can we do different to create it? What can you do different to create another result? Um, so, but yeah, just read that. Like that's a lot to digest. So we okay, we got okay. Life as a classroom. My life is a classroom, not a punishment, not a performance, but a place where every moment, every struggle, and every joy are a lesson inviting me to grow into who I was always meant to be. I don't believe life is punishing me or testing me. I believe it's teaching me. Every argument, every trigger, every inconvenience or moment of discomfort is a lesson disguised as life. This whole experience, being human, isn't about arriving at some perfect version of myself. It's about remembering who I already am. It's about uncovering what I forgot. Because I know this deep in my soul, I chose to be here. Not to be abused or violated, but because my spirit knew it could handle hard things. Not to just handle hard things, but grow through them. You can't learn the power of forgiveness without someone to forgive. You can't learn grace unless you've fallen. You can't experience healing unless you've been wounded. I believe my higher self said, I've got this. And I do, even when my human mind forgets. When everything shifted, it wasn't because life got easier. It was because I finally stopped asking why it happened to me and started asking what it was teaching me. There have been moments in my life where I knew something had changed in me, not just emotionally, but physically, spiritually, molecularly. Heal thyself. Years ago, I was having up to 10 grand mal seizures a day. I was over medicated, exhausted, and barely functioning. I had been diagnosed with MS. I had lesions and plaque up and down my brain. Doctors weren't hopeful, but I wasn't done. A conversation changed everything. Someone looked me in the eyes and said, do you believe what Jesus taught? I asked, what part? He responded, when Jesus said, what I can do, you can do, and more. He also said, physician, heal thyself. In that moment, something inside me clicked. It was like Tetris pieces locking into place. Not because I could perform miracles, but because I had an absolute knowing in that moment that if I could make myself sick through all the trauma and pain I was holding on to, I could also make myself whole. Within weeks, my MRI came back clean. The MS marker in my blood disappeared. Even the damage from a previous mini stroke was gone. And when the doctor insisted MS wasn't curable, I told him, so says you. I am a powerful creator. Maybe you need a new definition of healing. Take a moment with that. Um, I don't think I knew that. That was you said that was something that you experienced. How long ago was that?
That was in 2024, the end of 2024.
Well, that was not long ago. That was just before you had the experience clicking for your book.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. I took a training that that allowed me to take a deep dive and a look at myself. And in that training, this individual was speaking to me, and he looked me deep in the eye and he just asked me these questions. And at the time, I was having conflict about religion within my own self. And so when he asked me about Jesus, my hackles came up and I was ready to fight. Like, are you going to get religious on me? And he said, and it wasn't about that. It was about taking a look at my own vibration. It was about taking a look at my frequency and where I was sitting in that frequency and what I was creating with my frequency. And just recently, I didn't quite understand what had happened in that moment for me, but recently I discovered another level to this story, and it was about tapping into a different frequency, changing my belief system, not just saying I believed I could heal myself, but literally knowing on a cellular level that I could. And it's another one of those moments where my higher self just said, I got this, I got you. And allowed me to have that experience.
One of them miracles. I mean,
Yeah.
life is a miracle, but I mean, there's ones that I guess people decide they stand out more than others, but that's powerful.
Yeah. Moments that don't happen often or aren't discussed often and don't seem in the normal realm of things, right? We call those miracles.
Yeah.
A miracle is just science that we don't understand yet.
Higher perspective.
Yes.
So I just think that's um, an amazing experience. I can only imagine what that experience was like for you. I mean, I've had my own experiences, but that's pretty cool. Um, and I think it's interesting because I think as people connect to their purpose, that alignment, then stuff like this, like I mean, it becomes a regular everyday occurrence, really. Um, I mean, because I've seen so many people that have had experience shifts when they start having their alignment with their integrity of who they are. Um, I mean, you've seen your share also, but
I have.
um, I love that. Okay, we'll continue here. Okay. Alignment with your truth. It's easy to get swept up in the noise of what culture says, what family expects, what fear whispers. I've learned to live in alignment with my truth, not the world's. I was living in my truth in a loud world. Truth for me is found in morning affirmations, Reiki energy work, conversations with God, deep gratitude, personal accountability without shame, accepting all of who I am, even the road raging double bird flipping version. I don't judge her. I laugh with her. I choose again. Remember that healing is a choice, and so is power. Conscious creation isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being honest. It's about knowing that everything is working for you, by you, for your highest good. Healing is happening even when things don't make sense and in the moments which hurt. We are not trying to become perfect. We are choosing to live whole, moment by moment. Just want to pause for just a second there. And I feel like, I don't know, seems like it takes a bit of time and experience for people to experience, sometimes to experience quite a lot with life to get to that point of um, seeing the humor in, I don't know, the humor and the irony. And it's like, and I think, I mean, I reference it, the terminology I use is being able to look into the void, which is a person's own shadow side, and say, that's part of me. That's the part of me that um, is looking out for me, that's afraid of new experiences, that wants me to be safe. And in those moments of uncertainty, sometimes, everybody acts in certain ways um, that, they cause harm, they cause to other people, myself, whatever. And to get to a place where I can look at those moments and experience them and then start to move through them gracefully, um, not minimizing what it caused pain wise, but acknowledging that it's an experience. And when I start to move through with it, start to know how to move through it with grace, then it's like you can mend things a little quicker when you've got the wisdom because they happen. Um, Even getting upset. I mean, when I look at the times I get upset, I laugh at myself. I'm like, that really bothered me. I'm like, man, that's interesting. Why did that bother me?
Yeah, it's just taking an inventory, right?
Yeah.
Um, the perspective on that changed so drastically. The trajectory of how I feel about that changed so drastically when I stopped thinking about this life as a destination and more about it's a place along the journey. It's just a stop. It's not the end all be all of my existence. It's a moment in time in the broader, bigger picture of everything. And not to take it so seriously. It's just a moment. The test at school that we take is a moment. That
Yeah.
one test isn't going to define my existence or even my academic career. It's a moment. And in that moment, we get to take inventory, but it's kind of silly when I think about all of the stress that I have caused myself because I take this life so seriously. It's not that serious. It really isn't.
Yeah, it's some people think it's silly when I drive through traffic and they're humming along, I'm having fun, like I'm stuck in traffic, I'm quote unquote late to something, and I'm like, I'm just chilling, and they're like, why are you like, I don't know, and then I ride with them when they're driving and they're just all over the place, and it's such a different experience, but just what you shared, it's like if I'm late in traffic, I'm accountable, I handle the mechanics. Fact is, I'm late. Gonna
Hmm.
be there different times. Someone else will handle it. And because I just own it, like you're talking about here, you just own it, and then it's like there's nothing to be upset about. It's handled. You know, I've done what I can.
Yeah, yeah. It's a moment in time. The next moment's coming, and this will be gone. Yeah.
And even in like as the example of traffic, it's like I find it's quite interesting. A lot of times when I stop being stressed, suddenly the traffic clears up, and I'm like, and I end up being on time. It's crazy. I mean, it's a fun
Whenever
experience.
I'm late, I've noticed it's more often than not when I'm running late. The other people that are involved in the situation with me are also late, or we're caught up in something and grateful that we got to start a little later.
Yes,
Yeah.
that happens more often than not.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into our next activity in just a second. Okay, where are you? Right there. Okay. Okay. Reflection exercise. One powerful decision. Take a few minutes and reflect on a moment in your life when you made a decision that changed your trajectory. Now, ask yourself, what was that decision? How did it shape who you are today? If you hadn't made that choice, where might you be now? Write it down. Own your power. And remember, you are the creator, moment by moment. Um, it's interesting. There's a memory in my mind that comes to light when I think of this. It's actually my very first memory of being alive. When I was 4 years old, right on my birthday, I had a broken leg. Like I got my leg broken. And it's crazy. I reflect on that now. That one thing that happened, it set my life in a very entire like that set so many things, shaped so many things. And as I've revisited that, I've been able to like undo the victim story of what I wrapped up in that one moment that kind of rippled on, you know. Um, but it's interesting. That's just the first that comes to mind for me. But what an abundance of opportunities and experiences that unfolded for me too. to go through quite a lot. Um,
One of the things that somebody I know says quite often is, "But did you die?"
it's true. It's true. Yeah, that's certainly true. Um, what's funny about that experience is I don't even remember it the same. People who were there, they have remembered it totally different, and it's weird because in my mind I see it clearly, and they're like, Aaron, no, half your story is not true.
But it was your experience. Whether
It
it's true or
was.
not, that was your experience.
It's true. My mind blocked out a lot of pain.
Hmm.
I'm sure. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll roll on into our final chapter. Oh my gosh, we've been going through this for a while. Been a minute.
Hmm.
This has been quite an adventure reading this book. Um, just take a second. I'm grateful that you are here with me reading this, going through this. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I have appreciated that you've included me and that this book is available to walk beside whoever wants to take the journey.
Hmm. Okay, chapter 9. You are not here to survive. You are here to create. The invitation. You've walked through my story of pain, survival, healing, and creation. I honor and appreciate you for your heart and hope I've made an impact on yours and your way forward to creation and abundance. I want to remind you of something I've had to learn over and over again. You are the author, not your past, not your parents, not the systems that failed you or the people who hurt you. You are you. You have the pen. You decide what comes next. And every breath you take is another opportunity to write a new line. You matter. You are capable. You are the light. I've stared at the ceiling in the darkest hours of the night, wondering if my life had any meaning. I've lived through trauma, attempted suicide, battled illness, and questioned everything I thought I knew. If someone had looked me in the eye back then and simply said, "You matter," it would have cracked something open in me. So I'll say it to you now. You matter. You're capable. You were never meant to live in the shadows. There's nothing inherently more special about me than there is about you. The only difference is to start receiving. I chose to stop hiding from the truth that was always there. We are divine. Always remember that you are in control of yourself, even when you feel hopeless and lost. At the end of the day, there's only one person you get to control, and that's you. You can't change your partner, your children, your parents, your past, or the world around you. You can shift how you show up in it. Being the light. When I finally realized that I was wasting so much energy trying to fix what was outside of me, I turned inward. I stopped blaming. I stopped begging. I stopped resisting the reflection staring back at me. I asked, do I want to keep being this version of me, or do I want to create something new? That was the beginning of everything. That is when I started taking one step forward and not looking behind me, but instead what was in front of me. Yes, I know what it feels like to be stuck, to be exhausted, to not even know where to begin. Start small. Start with one thing. For me, some days that step was just getting out of bed and taking a shower. That one act of movement felt like a mountain, but it was movement. What's next became brushing my teeth, then journaling, then affirmations, then saying out loud, I am healthy, wealthy, healed, and whole now. Every time I said it, I got closer to believing it. You don't need to overhaul your life today. You just need to take one conscious step and do it again tomorrow and tomorrow. Today is the day to shift that identity. I used to think I was just here to survive. Today, I understand that I was born to create. The moment I stopped trying to earn my worth and started honoring it, everything shifted. I finally understood. I am light. I am powerful. I am capable of healing, rebuilding, and rising. And so are you. You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not what they did to you. You are light. And that light cannot be dimmed, not by circumstance, not by shame, not by anyone else's darkness, because the science of light and the spirit of creation won't allow it. Even science has caught up to what the soul already knows. We are made of light. Inside every cell, every neuron, every atom, light is present. And it can be expanded or contracted based on how we choose to live. Look at yourself and believe that your healing expands your light. Your courage expands your light. Your belief in something more expands your light. Just like lighting a candle in a pitch black room, your light will always overpower the dark. If you remember nothing else from this book, remember this. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are a creator. You are already abundant. And that journey, however messy or slow, is a miracle in motion. You are the author. You are light. You are ready. Go create the life that only you were born to live. You deserve it. It's quite a send-off for your book.
It's the truth. It's the truth that I know, the truth that I understand. We are all light.
I always love the emphasis on um, being the author. There's chapters, there's stories. Some are longer than others.
Mm-hmm.
And also the part of it that points out that there's one that popped in my head when I was reading one of these, or talks about, you know, it's not, there's stuff happens to you um, from other people, circumstances that you don't see coming. And those moments are the moments to define who am I in relation to what happened? Am I the one that survived that, or was I the one strong enough to stand regardless? Like I get to decide how that story's framed because that's what I tell myself. And because if I say, "Man, I survived this whole ordeal," so people look at you and they're like, "Man, you're so amazing." It's like, I chose to get back up, and that's the only difference. And that was it. Um,
I
and
had
you can
a
do the exact same
I had
thing.
a I had a beautiful friend. One time I said, "Well, it is what it is." And she looked at me and she said, "Or it is what you make it."
Hmm.
And now I don't say it is what it is anymore. I say it is what I make it. Every circumstance, every moment. You know, another one of the sayings, and you may have heard me say this before because I say it quite often, but a goat and a goat can only make a baby goat. A cat and a cat can only make a baby kitten. They produce in their divinity. So if I am created by divinity, therefore by birthright I am divine, and nothing divine can be anything but light. And that's just the truth. So it isn't, it is what it is. It's only what I make it out to be. And I live by that.
That's definitely a nugget I'm gonna take with me because I don't think I've heard that before. But I like that because that's quite a reframe because it's like, well, I don't know. People say, well, it is what it is. And it's just like, well, what do you want to make it into? I was um I was talking to one of the to a student recently at one of at one of the schools, and he was talking about the forest. He was talking about Mother Nature, and they was talking about how um, like the planet, and they said this. I mean, it's like I think it's like 7 or 8 years old, and they're talking about how humans are like the planet would be better off like if we weren't ever here. And I said, I said, well, I says, well, I think that the Earth actually wants to be made into something. Because I says, if there's no one here to build something with what's here, I says, I think the Earth would be a little bit sad. And I says, I think it's important that we don't use too much, so we take care of the Earth. But I'm like, I think the Earth would actually be a little bit sad if there wasn't someone here to make use of all the materials that it has created.
Mhm.
And they was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe so.
Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities.
Um, so I'm going to get this pulled up, our last activity, and then we'll go into the epilogue. Okay. Share, share, share. There we go. Okay. Reflection exercise. A letter to your future self. Take a moment to pause and dream. Now, write a letter to yourself dated 1 year from today. In it, include what have I created? Who have I become? What small steps have led to big transformation? How does it feel to live aligned with my truths? Write as if it's already happened. Declare it, claim it. Then read it out loud. Take the first step. Um, this just made me think of an experience I had recently. Well, I guess it's been 6 months ago now. But and it's just the power of this, and it's interesting what happens when you're open to receive. I had a friend, mutual friend of ours. I had declared something like this because I wanted to wipe out some finance stuff. I wanted to create this. And I'm like, because it'd be great to have this removed from my life. And about a week later, they invited me, and she's my finance mentor now in a program that she has. And and initially when I accepted the invitation, I just had this old fear come up with me. It's like, man, I don't know. And so I actually almost bailed out. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I got my history here. It says this thing's not grounded myself. I'm like, you know what? This is a new moment. And I chose to step into that. And I realized that my fear and my history had kept me back. And it was not what I thought. It's not what that fear was saying. And now we're 6 months later, I'm in a whole other world right now. And it's been working so amazingly in my life that I have doors opening to me I couldn't have imagined, and it happened so fast. And it was the moment of I declaring this, what I created, which for me was some financial circumstances that were kind of a weight on me, and acknowledging, okay, now what do I choose in this new moment? And when I was open, then it popped in the way I didn't expect, and I am moving so quickly. It's insane. um, unless it's not. It's just my reality. Um, but one of the first things that came to mind reading some of these questions was the first one was, what have I created? And I feel like one thing that comes to mind was being honest about what I've created. Total disclosure, like what have I created? What's have I created that's working for me, and what have I created that's not working? And um, letting go of the judgment of whatever that, just the honesty, kind of like you said, and the accountability is just like what actually is there. And I feel like it's important to be honest about what have I created, not just the stuff that's created like joys, but what's caused me pain that I've consciously chosen at some point. Um, and then from there, I can, after honest inventory, I can say, well, who have I become because of what I created? And then what small step can I say um, and step into to say, okay, this is something I have now, and what would I like to become and grow into? And then focus on, well, when I'm moving into that, how does it feel to live aligned, knowing this is what I'm ready to create now?
That's wonderful.
Hmm. Okay, we'll move on to the epilogue, and we'll wrap this up. Okay. I read the first couple of words and I'm like, I already like this. Um, Epilogue, the new you. Dear you, you are enough, right now, just as you are. I know that it may be hard to believe. You might think your pain's too much, your past too heavy, your dreams too far gone. Our stories are not identical, but I have sat in the darkness. I've doubted my worth. Yet, we are still here, and we deserve to be abundant. We are the creators of our choices and our futures, and no one defines that but us. I used to think I had to do it all on my own. I hope this book has shown you that you are not in it, whatever it is, for you alone. I care. People care. You have value and purpose. You are a light. You may not have all the answers right now. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to take one step, one breath, one brave decision to believe, even slightly, that more is possible. And when you can't believe it yet, let me believe it for you. With love, Robyn, Maria. I love how you close it out. If I remember right, that was how the book kind of started, like addressing the reader
Mhm.
in a letter format. I love, personally, I love that as a personal touch um, to a book like this, where you're speaking straight to them.
So, there are a lot of things in the back of this book. There's takeaways, there's themes that you can explore, there are discussion guides that you can have if for book clubs, things like that. But there is one section on page 81, and then after that, it talks more about the charity. But I just wanted to share this page 81 because it's a lot of information in the in a small book. Um, but oftentimes when I get a lot of information, I need something to reflect back on that's an easy um and something easy that will trigger the memory or
Yeah,
trigger the concept or the idea for me. And so on page 81, there's an action step challenge for people to step into um, if you're feeling stuck. Sometimes I feel stuck. And so I get to do something to unstick. And so I don't know if you want to read that or if
Yeah.
you'd like me to read it.
Sure. How about you read this one?
Okay. Action step challenge. After each discussion, we invite readers to take one small, brave step. Make a call, write a letter, set a boundary, step into nature, laugh out loud, create a gratitude journal, smile at your reflection, pick up a great book, join a support group, start the thing that you've been afraid to begin. And for individuals or groups, what if the story that broke you became the story that set you free? Reflect or share what this question means now after finishing From Surviving to Creating a Journey of Abundance by me. What would that look like for you? What would the book you would write about you look like? It's something to think about.
I know for me personally, I have like that's just what I'm writing right now, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a few things I after we're done with the call of the live stream. There's a couple things I want to share with you that I've got going on. Some exciting news, exciting stuff I got
Right.
going. I love this because like you just said, there can be a lot, and having this section right here. Um, I think this is be really a great tool for, I think, like you said, coming together as a group, um, and being like, hey, let's do one of these things. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot people could do with that, but it takes the little gold nuggets, which I think that's what I saw in the back of the book, is some of the references, like the golden nuggets. After like we've digested the story and we've had all the connections and between point A and point B, it's like, all right, let's pull out the nuggets
Hmm.
and let's use these tools. I love this. Uh,
Well, one of the
um,
things that one of the things that is important for me to remember on my daily practices is that you can know all the information that the world has to offer, and it's beautiful, and knowledge is power. Unless it's being utilized and put into practice, it it's just information. And when you put that information into practice is where you really tap into your power.
it's that one step, the the list you just read through.
Hmm.
All right, so we'll go ahead and we're gonna wrap these things up. So thank you, Robyn, for being with us here with the Blood Wolf Reading Hour. Um, we started this, I think, back in November or December, so it's been quite a ride. Lots of reschedulings and holidays and things we work out. It's in and out with a bang. So anybody who's interested, like, so I'll have a link to her book down in the description. Um, and if you want to get involved with her charity organization she has set up, it's all there. It's in the book, and you mentioned it. You said it's called Unboxed Hearts.
Yes.
Okay, so you can go to look into that. And you said there you're working on a website, or is there a website already?
I have a website, and I have a place on there where you can put your information if you'd like to be contacted when it's fully up and operational.
Okay, awesome. So I'll have a bit of that information also in the description for anybody to take a look at that. And pick up a copy of this, and it's a great tool to add to your tool belt. So many great things out there, and what a beautiful creation. Apparently inspired about a year ago or so. Uh, what an experience, what a world, connecting point. So thank you again for joining me. And
Thank you.
thank you for anybody who's tuning in, and welcome to my side of the moon.